Okay, thank you. My name is Rodrigo Morel. I'm managing director of CREARA, one of the members of neZEH consortium. It's a real pleasure for me to be with you all today and basically to introduce and moderate this session where we're going to see real cases. We're going to talk about lighthouse cases which are being implemented in hotels around Europe. We're going to have the opportunity to see hoteliers talking about why they've taken the decision of going into neZEH projects in different type of hotels. We're going to see an example of an urban hotel, a coastal hotel, and a rural one. We're going to see examples from 3 different countries, Romania, Spain, and France. And basically, we're going to understand what's the motivation of taking the decision of going to into a neZEH project. I think it was explained in the previous session, but we might say it again. A neZEH project, it's not an energy efficiency project. It goes far beyond. I mean, if we, so that I think most of us can understand it and make it super simple. When we go into an energy refurbishment project in a hotel, we have 2 types of measures to implement. The ones that give us the low-hanging fruit, the easy wins, the savings that can help us reduce our consumption with quick returns, and the ones that, on top of the first ones, will get us into the neZEH category. Those ones are really tough to implement because economically they're more expensive, technically more difficult to implement. There are risks involved, etc. There is a common ground on the hotels we've chosen as pilots all around Europe, the ones who have decided to go farther to this neZEH level. The common ground is that the decision has been taken by the owners, by the hoteliers. Those are the ones who can decide to go farther, to go beyond an energy efficiency project. And basically what we've seen, and you will see in the cases we've chosen, these hoteliers have taken the decision to become neZEH hotels because they are really passionate about their jobs, about what they do. They really think in the long term. I mean, they're not prioritizing the profit and loss account of this year. They're talking about what they want to achieve in 10 years' time. They want to have a zero carbon footprint before improving the revenues of this year. That's why, because of the passion they feel about their job, about their project, their hotels, that's why they decided to become neZEH. The first chat is going to be done by Nigel Claridge, one of the members of the neZEH consortium, who will explain us how we chose these pilot projects. Thanks.
Thank you, Rodrigo. Good morning. My name is Nigel Claridge, and I am from Sustainable Innovation in Stockholm. I am not Swedish, I am English. Don't speak French, do speak Swedish, but we'll do English today. Just a few words about Sustainable Innovation. It's one of the leading energy efficiency companies in Sweden, in Stockholm. We're working very much in the area of transport and buildings and the Internet of Things. Sorry, some waving at the back there. And the technology that's required to support that. So very much into energy efficiency and leading in that area in Sweden. My role today is essentially to present to you what I regard as the heartbeat of the neZEH project, and that is the pilot projects that we have now produced or in the process of producing. Absolutely central. I think you've seen from earlier on this morning where it's quite clear that there is a shortage of good examples of nearly zero energy hotels in Europe. In fact, there's probably only a handful. And this project is actually trying to increase the number of hotels that we can work with over the next, well, unfortunately the project only carries on for another 9 months, but for the remainder of the project and afterwards as well, the legacy issues are going to be very interesting. Our project Our project has a fundamental objective of achieving 14 hotels across 7 regions in Europe. So we're looking for at least 14 pilot hotels across 7 countries to follow large scale, and that's the emphasis, large scale renovation plans, not small low-hanging fruit as we've been discussing now, large scale renovation plans to become nearly zero. And we quite clearly need to have a discussion about what nearly zero means, because it's quite complicated. I'll come back to that in a minute, because we've got a little drawing that helps us with that. To be front runners and to serve as examples of best practice. So we're not only working with these at least 14, if we've got more than 14 now, we've got 14 hotels, not just working with them, but also spreading the word to other hotels across Europe. Very important, so they can see what's going on. It hasn't been that easy to get them involved, so we've had to be very clear about what the benefits are from joining the project and what each of these hotels is going to be getting out of the project. And I think some of these have already mentioned this morning. Access to technical expertise is one. We've got an enormous amount of extremely capable people within the project to provide good technical advice and technical expertise. The energy audits, which have become extremely central in terms of defining what the hotels could be doing once they've gone into some sort of renovation phase. So it's not just a static audit, it's actually providing recommendations for what could be done and how to improve. Another area which we found to be very important is the feasibility studies, which each hotel will conduct after the energy audits to help with financial decision making. Extremely important. We've also produced a template to support that, which I'll come back to in a minute. Another issue, of course, which is central to all of this is the financing. And the project has been looking very closely at national funding schemes across all regions to see what's available. And I think that's going to be a bit of a challenge in the future. Another area which the project is providing is training for hoteliers and their staff, not just in the actual energy solutions that are applied, but also the general concept of working with nearly zero energy and what it means in a broader sense. And then, as we've also touched on, and I think someone mentioned that a little earlier on in the last session, promotional and communication guidelines and tools for support. It's not just a question of taking these measures, energy efficiency and renewable solutions, but also going out and telling people that you've done it. And I think we've seen from, without going on too much about it, in Austria, how they have made an enormous impact on the hotel industry there, where they've made all these changes, but Michaela has not been quiet about it. She goes out and she tells everyone in an extremely professional and extensive way. And that's actually led to occupancy rates increasing and new sections of the public coming in, people who are interested in this area. So she's had big success there. Right, I'm going to rush through this because I've only got 5 more minutes to talk about the world. We've had quite a strategic selection process to select our pilot hotels. We've used a filter system, which started off with a public call, and I can't remember how many total applications we got, but I think there was an interest of about 150 to 200 hotels. And we've had to, of course, bring that down. We put together a set of very stringent requirements. We had an application form that the hoteliers had to fill in order to ascertain their motivation. Were they really interested in joining the project? And based on that, we came down to 10 potential candidates to become our pilot hotels. We went and had meetings, we met them, they met us, there were discussions, and that resulted in 5 candidate pilot hotels. Those 5 pilot hotels were offered at the expense of the project energy pre-audits, a sort of a summarized version of the audits. And then based on the results of those audits and the criteria that we developed during the project, 2 pilot hotels at least in each of the 7 regions dropped out. So these are the ones that dropped out. And as you can see, we have the countries here and we have all the hotels here. And I have to say that I'm very impressed with this, and I'm extremely grateful to all our regional leaders who have worked extremely hard to get us in this position. It has taken time. It takes time to motivate the hotels, to get the hotels on board the project, but we are there now. So this is where we are, and even if there are one or two countries that haven't quite got there, they will be there by the end of September, as I understand it. So we have at least 14, perhaps 16 pilot hotels, and I think that this is an extremely commendable effort. There are one or two pictures here as we go through, so you'll see which they are. This one here is in Sweden, on the island of Gotland. Okay, so once they're on board, as it were, what are we making available to them in terms of the project? What are they getting out of the project? Well, they're getting guidelines for these energy audits. They're actually quite complicated to do, so there are guidelines as to how to run these, and hopefully we'll make those into something quite usable for hoteliers in the future. This is going to be a challenge. We've also modified the hotel energy survey tool, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with, to include the nearly zero energy concept. So that's going to be available to them as well, and to other hotels. We provided guidelines for feasibility and also the cost scenario estimations, which are part of the feasibility study. And then, of course, once you start moving down the process of renovation, the hotels need support in terms of tendering and contracting. Who do I get in touch with? How do I decide which contractors are of value to me and which ones to select? We're providing, as I mentioned earlier, training for staff and for the hoteliers themselves. And we're also providing tips and guides for hoteliers, which hopefully will be a nice little guideline so everybody can use it in a very usable and useful way. This is just some of them. There's marketing and communication activities as well, which are going to be defined. And what we've done, I don't think Stavola was in your presentation, we've put together a little structure as to how you should work with this. And it's not rocket science as such, but essentially the first stage is to get an understanding of the current status, energy status of your hotel. What is it looking like today? And then based on that, you can develop a business plan looking at energy efficient solutions and renewable energy sources. Both of those, very important combination. Not just energy efficiency, but also renewable energy sources. Then you build your renovation plan and perhaps a roadmap forward. And then you go out, once you've started that and once you've completed it, go out and tell people about it. Having obviously trained your staff and management to get on board. Now this to me is a very important picture. I think Stavrola touched on it and so did Rodrigo. But the concept of being nearly zero is not just energy efficiency. It's a combination of energy efficiency measures and renewable sources. So you're reducing your energy consumption by employing energy efficiency measures, and then with the small amount of energy that you consume, you're supplying that by renewable sources. So it's a balance between energy efficiency and renewable. Thank you. Yes, I'm a juggler as well. But the third issue, which is probably not the focus of the project as such, because the project does focus on the balance between energy efficiency and renewable sources. But for me, as a behavioral scientist in my fundamental education, is that people have to change their behavior. Staff have to change their behavior, management have to change their behavior, guests have to change their behavior. And without that element, the full potential of this investment will not be realized. So you've got to think nearly zero energy across the board. And that's something that I think is incredibly prevalent in Stadshalle. When you go there, they breathe it. They breathe it in everything they do. Every time they buy something, every time anybody comes through the door, any member of the public that comes in is automatically focused on this. So very, very strong element. And I think something that will be the subject of future funding, if you like, from the Commission. Citizen engagement, consumer engagement, behavioural change. Very central. So, from the little we've done so far, what have we learned? Well, we've found that there's actually strong motivation to achieve nearly zero energy status. When we go out and talk to the hotels, very few have been negative. Of course, some hotels, as we've heard earlier, are probably not so interested in these issues, but the majority of them are. And I think once the benefits are explained to the hoteliers in broad terms, we've had a lot of very keen interest. So it was actually quite difficult to select hotels from all of them. And the other thing that has emerged, which I think is important to mention, is the energy audits. Many of the hotels said that they are inundated by people supplying equipment, supplying ideas, saying that their ideas are the absolute best ones, and if you do that, it'll solve all their problems. Sort of insurance salesman type solution. They found that very confusing. They have no idea who to believe. So the idea of an independent, comprehensive assessment has been incredibly strong and supportive in their decision process. However, the general knowledge about nearly zero energy and energy concepts within the hotel business is extremely low, and most people equate it with perhaps energy efficiency measures, if that. And the other area that we've seen that needs addressing or is a problem is the lack of qualified expertise in this area. Once I decide to go down that route, where do I get my expertise from? Where do I get my support from? And of course, the central issue, which I think comes back time and time again, is funding issues. There's a complete lack of that in many countries. So that is something that we have to address. Funding sources and funding initiatives. And my last slide, just to outline the challenges ahead. These seem to be at the moment the main challenges. Access to qualified staff. This is something that we need to address. Financial challenges need to be addressed in terms of schemes and incentives. And also that the tools and methods that we develop in the project, which I think are extremely good, but they do need to be adapted so that they are not only useful but usable to the target public. And at that point, I will finish. Thank you.
Thank you, Nigel. Let's start with the real cases, the lighthouse cases. The first one is going to be the Kubix Hotel located in Brasov, Romania. Unfortunately, the owner, Mr. Dan Kivu, won't be able to accompany us today, but we've got a video where he will explain the project they're accomplishing.
Cu o vechime de peste 800 de ani, aflat în inima țării, cu o populație de 253.000 de locuitori. Înconjurat de natură, de verdeață, Brașovul este vizitat anual de zeci de mii de turiști, atrași atât de istorie, cât și de parfumul unor legende medievale. Brașovul este un punct de referință pe harta turistică internațională, fiind considerat cel mai frumos oraș din România. Numele meu este Dan Chivu și sunt proprietarul hotelului Kubix, un hotel modern, construit de la zero și deschis în aprilie 2008. Hotelul nostru are 4 stele, 57 de camere și este amplasat în cea mai importantă zonă comercială și de business a Brașovului. Deciziile ne însoțesc și ne urmăresc pe tot parcursul vieții. Momentele esențiale impun decizii îndrăznețe și corecte. Dincolo de rațiunile economice, care țin exclusiv de eficientizarea business-ului, noi am decis că a fi verde este singura opțiune responsabilă. Un business nu poate supraviețui într-un mediu înconjurător ostil, neprietenos. În aceste condiții, am înțeles că, indiferent de costuri, avem datoria de a planifica și implementa afacerea într-un ambient sănătos. Și pentru asta, am decis să alegem verdele în locul cenușiului. Pentru ca generațiile viitoare să se bucure de aer curat și de cer senin, trebuie să luăm decizii responsabile astăzi. Da, atitudinea verde nu este altceva decât modul în care înțelegem cum trebuie să ne raportăm la viitor. Este, dacă vreți, pașaportul care permite trecerea graniței dintre ziua de azi și cea de mâine. Noi credem că exploatarea rațională a resurselor și utilizarea responsabilă a energiei în hotelul nostru reprezintă pariul pe care trebuie să-l câștigăm împreună cu mediul înconjurător, nu împotriva acestuia. Parteneriatul cu inimoasa echipă neZEH, lider regional pentru România, a reprezentat pentru noi un moment de răscruce. Atunci am înțeles cu adevărat că pierdem mult prea ușor energie printr-o utilizare non-rațională. Am realizat că avem costuri și consum de energie supradimensionate, comparativ cu ce am putea consuma după realizarea unor investiții în echipamente, soluții performante și transformarea hotelului nostru, treptat, într-un hotel aproape zero energie. Soluțiile imaginate împreună cu partenerii neZEH ne-au permis să trecem la un alt nivel de control al consumurilor, printr-un management riguros al risipei și printr-o gestionare rațională a resurselor. Soluțiile identificate prin auditarea energetică a clădirii ne-au demonstrat că putem obține în viitor importante beneficii economice. Analizele tehnice au venit în completarea dorinței noastre de a deveni rentabili, de a câștiga noi clienți și de a avea o imagine din ce în ce mai puternică într-o piață puternic concurențială. În acest fel a început pentru noi aventura transformării hotelului Cubix într-un hotel verde. Auditul realizat de echipa de specialiști prin proiectul european neZEH ne-a arătat necesarul de lucrări, performanța echipamentelor care ar trebui să contribuie în viitor la transformarea hotelului nostru într-un hotel aproape zero energie. În urma investițiilor, ar trebui să atingem un consum de 95 de kWh pe metru pătrat pe an. Astfel, ne-am apucat de lucru. În prezent, cheltuim peste 38.000 de euro anual pentru utilități, iar în urma implementării soluțiilor neZEH, ne propunem să atingem o țintă de maxim 8.000 de euro pe an. Aceasta ar însemna o reducere semnificativă de 79% în privința costurilor cu utilitățile. Am stabilit categoriile principale de activități asupra cărora ne îndreptăm deja atenția. Reducerea consumului de energie la nivel de echipamente și instalații, necesitatea introducerii unui sistem de management energetic inteligent, instalarea panourilor fotovoltaice și colectoarelor termice solare pentru aportul de energie verde, care reduce necesarul de energie convențională cu 27%, introducerea serviciilor eco pentru clienții hotelului, conștientizarea clienților noștri în raport cu beneficiile câștigate prin atitudinea verde. Avem deja implementate câteva soluții. Avem montate sisteme pentru decuplarea de la alimentarea cu energie electrică în perioada de neocupare a camerelor. Oprim agentul termic atunci când geamurile sunt deschise de către clienți. Utilizăm senzori de prezență pentru iluminatul spațiilor comune. Am renunțat la minibarurile din cameră în favoarea opțiunii de room service. Am început eliminarea surselor cu incandescență, schimbăm prosoapele doar la cerere, utilizăm un program de management pentru iluminatul exterior. Și acum, ce urmează? În ce trebuie să investim în viitor? O mare problemă reprezintă pierderea de energie prin anvelopă. Aici trebuie să intervenim și estimăm o reducere de 60% față de actualul consum. Un management integrat al clădirii ne aduce o reducere de 12%. Ne-am gândit la termostate inteligente. În cazul spălătoriei pierdem foarte multă energie electrică. Ne propunem să utilizăm apa preîncălzită în mașinile de spălat. Pentru că avem o amplasare strategică a clădirii, ne-am gândit la instalarea de panouri fotovoltaice și colectoare solare pe acoperișul terasă pe o suprafață de 560 de metri pătrați. În parcare vor fi montate prize pentru reîncărcarea cu energie electrică atât pentru mașinile clienților, cât și pentru cele oferite de hotelul nostru pentru un tur eco. Ne-am propus să începem cu 2 automobile, biciclete și scutere electrice. Ne dorim ca toate acțiunile noastre și conceptul aproape zero energie să devină o sursă de inspirație. Avem multe de făcut și investiții importante de realizat, dar ne gândim activ la viitorul nostru și vrem ca în foarte scurt timp să avem un nou brand. Cubix, hotel aproape zero energie. Bun venit în Brașov, oraș desemnat în anul 2011 capitala verde a României. Brașovul este un oraș istoric cu o vechime de peste 800 de ani, aflat în inima țării, cu o populație de 253.000 de locuitori. Înconjurat de natură, de verdeață, Brașovul este vizitat anual de zeci de mii de turiști, atrași atât de istorie, cât și de parfumul unor legende medievale. Brașovul este un punct de referință pe harta turistică internațională, fiind considerat cel mai frumos oraș din România.
So the main problem with this hotel actually was
Numele meu este Dan Chivu și sunt proprietarul hotelului Cubix, un hotel modern construit de la zero, deschis în aprilie 2008. Hotelul nostru are 4 stele, 57 de camere și este amplasat în cea mai importantă zonă comercială și de business a Brașovului. Deciziile ne însoțesc și ne urmăresc pe tot parcursul vieții. Momentele esențiale impun decizii îndrăznețe și corecte. Dincolo de rațiunile economice, care țin exclusiv de eficientizarea business-ului, noi am decis că a fi verde este singura opțiune responsabilă. Un business nu poate supraviețui într-un mediu înconjurător ostil, neprietenos. În aceste condiții, am înțeles că, indiferent de costuri, avem datoria de a planifica și implementa afacerea într-un ambient sănătos. Și pentru asta am decis să alegem verdele în locul cenușiului. Pentru ca generațiile viitoare să se bucure de aer curat și de cer senin, trebuie să luăm decizii responsabile astăzi.
And I wish to complete dramatically improved. Thank you.
Da, atitudinea verde nu este altceva decât modul în care înțelegem cum trebuie să ne raportăm la viitor. Este, dacă vreți, pașaportul care permite trecerea graniței dintre ziua de azi și cea de mâine. Noi credem că exploatarea rațională a resurselor și utilizarea responsabilă a energiei în hotelul nostru reprezintă pariul pe care trebuie să-l câștigăm împreună cu mediul înconjurător, nu împotriva acestuia. Parteneriatul cu inimoasa echipă neZEH, lider regional pentru România, a reprezentat pentru noi un moment de răscrucere. Atunci am înțeles cu adevărat că pierdem mult prea ușor energie printr-o utilizare non-rațională. Am realizat că avem costuri și consum de energie supradimensionate, comparativ cu ce am putea consuma după realizarea unor investiții în echipament, soluții performante și transformarea hotelului nostru treptat într-un hotel aproape zero energie. Soluțiile imaginate împreună cu partenerii neZEH ne-au permis să trecem la un alt nivel de control al consumului, printr-un management riguros al risipei și printr-o gestionare rațională a resurselor. Soluțiile identificate prin auditarea energetică a clădirii ne-au demonstrat că putem obține în viitor importante beneficii economice. Analizele tehnice au venit în completarea dorinței noastre de a deveni rentabili, de a câștiga noi clienți și de a avea o imagine din ce în ce mai puternică într-o piață puternic concurențială. În acest fel a început pentru noi aventura transformării hotelului Cubix într-un hotel verde. Auditul realizat de echipa de specialiști prin proiectul european neZEH ne-a arătat necesarul de lucrări, performanța echipamentelor care ar trebui să contribuie în viitor la transformarea hotelului nostru într-un hotel aproape zero energie. În urma investițiilor, ar trebui să atingem un consum de 95 de kWh pe metru pătrat pe an. Astfel ne-am apucat de lucru.
Hectares, 100,000 square meters, and we have nowadays is a hotel and a hostel, restaurant, a spa, and different halls and spaces, indoors and outdoors, to do workshops or business meetings or gatherings. This project started 20 years ago. And this was, at that time, it was a utopia. It was an idea, it was a dream of a woman, Irene Goicolea, who was the instigator, the inspiration for the project. And it was that we vibrated with that idea of living in the country and creating a nicer space where we could live and we can share with other people. This is how it started. When we were there, people said, "Oh, why don't you do a hotel? Why don't you do a space for workshop? This is a great place for relaxation and concentration." And so we said, "Why not?" And so this is how we started 20 years ago, digging and cleaning. We bought. This was a ruin. It was an ancient monastery that it was abandoned for many years, and so we got that. We got there and we started rebuilding, reconstruing, building, and cleaning. A lot of cleaning of the space. Everybody took part. The 12 families, many times with friends also. We had our works, and we also worked in the land and just preparing it and putting the best of ourselves. The idea it was the personal growth. We first started with that part. We thought that emotional ecology, it was very important. And we found that as we did the steps in our interior, also will manifest in the outside. or vice versa, when we had difficulties in the outside, because we also have a river in the area, and we found places that were very difficult to dig in, and we thought, wow, why is it so difficult? Why can't we go in there? And we try to look inside our own difficulties, our resistances. As we will work inside, we found that the outside, we will find the ways in the outside to go on. So this is how we worked little by little. The idea was the personal growth, but also the harmony with the nature and with the environment that it was there. All the time we worked also with the sustainability. We, on the beginning, found big difficulty with water. Fortunately, there is a lot of water, there is a lot of rain, but humidity was also a big problem. So the beginning, we restored 2 of the buildings. It would have been much easier to destroy them and start all over. But one of the buildings was a historical building, so we had to maintain or recuperate the building. And we did a lot of work channeling the waters, the drainage. And we also planted like 5,000 trees, looking thinking in the future. And that helped also with the waters, to stabilize the water systems. And little by little, we built the hotel and the restaurant. We also went always for quality. So we got guidance. We entered in the government programs, and we got some assistance, and we got the queue of quality. As we were a project of families, a little bit of the community life, the hospitality, the services were very important in our project, the inner and the outside. So we always try to put our best. And as we go, we found that also the energy savings, the environment, it was important, and the new buildings, we worked with natural materials, with wood. Also, we used a lot the natural light spaces, and isolations, cork isolation. Also, okay. And the panel, the solar panel, the thermic solar panels also were used. And this was our last jewel. We built it 2 years ago, and this was really the dream, the end of the dream, one of the dreams. And it was the building of a hall where we could gather to many people. It has space for like 300 people. And we used the sacred geometry. We used also geobiology. We used all through the buildings this geobiology because we found it important, the study of the pathologies in the land also, to equilibrate or give change of energy, and also the situations of the buildings. The result that we found is when people are in the space, they feel really good. And so that's, I think it is the physical aspects of the constructions, the energetical saving, but also all the thing that is invisible in the building, the space, on the awareness that we are building all the time, working in the inside of the people. Most of us, we keep and work in the construction and the maintenance and also in the hotel services. And fortunately, he is also part of the project, and he's been very aware of the bioconstruction and the new materials and the more healthy produces to use in our construction and maintenance. We also have like outdoors spaces. We found that the people that come in workshops or trainings or business meetings enjoy a lot the outside. And so since we have a lot of rain, little by little we innovated. We put a teepee, and it is a very appreciated space many times to end up a business meeting around the fire. We try to be in harmony with the place, not only with constructions, but also to be in harmony with the place. And we dig water. We have 2 wells, natural wells for water, just in case. Right now we don't need, but just in case. And also we were working in new projects. We bought a land, and we found that it's very important the education, that our children also get the education and the awareness of the importance of the energy saving or taking care also of the spaces that we already have. We do have our own vegetable gardens, some. We cannot provide to all the needs of the restaurant, but we also work with products of the area, of the neighborhood. And we take part on many projects as we can that are in consonance with nature. Like there is a green path, they call it the green path, so many people come to the area with bicycles, and we did work different paths in the mountains. So there is a tourism or that is attracted to these kind of things, and we are getting into that in that direction. And if you want to find out a little bit more about our little hotel or anything that is going on, we've got a little information in French and English also. So we will be happy to share anything with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. The third case we're going to show you is the Best Western Ajaccio from France. There will be first a video, and then we will listen to the explanation of the auditor.
And we heard this a bit late, so we wanted still to have them present, so we made this video very quickly, so please know that it's been made in a very short time, so it will not be as good as the Cubics video.
Pour nous, s'inscrire à hôtel presque zéro énergie constitue la continuité de notre engagement qui a débuté en 2013 avec l'écolabel. Aujourd'hui, nous souhaitions aller plus loin et pouvoir s'attacher et comprendre quels étaient les problèmes énergétiques qu'on pouvait rencontrer dans notre bâtiment. Grâce à ce projet, nous allons pouvoir bénéficier d'un audit énergétique. Pour nous, c'est le point de départ, ça nous semble être important, c'est le point de départ de tout ce qui va pouvoir se dérouler ensuite. On va pouvoir identifier les problèmes et les analyser et puis bénéficier de solutions qui pourront être adaptées.
L'écolabel européen à laquelle nous avons pu accéder peut être intéressant pour beaucoup de clientèles, notamment, c'est vrai, des clientèles aujourd'hui malheureusement un peu plus nordiques, on le relève, qui peuvent être intéressés et qui peuvent sélectionner votre établissement dans la mesure où on s'est inscrit dans cette démarche. Alors cette démarche, elle va plus loin, elle est prolongée aussi dans des équipements spécifiques, comme on l'a vu, d'équipements à proposer à des clientèles de tourisme naturel, de tourisme aussi écologique, un équipement, comme on l'a vu, un projet d'équipement de prise électrique dans les garages pour des vélos électriques ou des voitures électriques, pour l'accueil aussi de clientèle de cyclotourisme, notamment d'Europe du Nord, et associé effectivement à cette image et à cette démarche d'écolabel, c'est une motivation de plus pour certains clients pour choisir nos établissements.
on a pu déjà commencer à mettre en place certaines choses au sein de l'hôtel, comme le remplacement dans toutes les chambres des luminaires, des anciens luminaires par des luminaires LED, dans les parties communes également. Cet hiver, nous allons changer tous les systèmes de production d'eau chaude des bassins extérieurs pour des systèmes de pompe à chaleur beaucoup plus performants. On va également installer un volet roulant électrique sur notre piscine pour réduire les déperditions de chaleur. Et également, nous projetons de rénover tous les frigos, rénover tout l'ensemble des frigos des cuisines, qui sont aujourd'hui très consommateurs en énergie.
In order to explain a little bit further the technical aspects of the energy audit which was conducted in Best Western Hotel, let me introduce you to Joséphine Ledoux from the company Enera Conseil.
Bonjour. Donc Joséphine Ledoux, j'ai fait l'audit de ce bâtiment. Alors, en France, la méthodologie de l'audit énergétique est déjà bien avancée d'un point de vue national, puisqu'il existe des référentiels pour les industries et pour l'habitation, et c'est facile de le transplanter à l'hôtellerie. Alors l'audit énergétique, comme il a été précisé avant, c'est un outil d'aide à la décision lorsqu'on envisage de faire des travaux permettant de réaliser des économies d'énergie. Donc l'hôtel Amirauté, c'est un hôtel qui a été construit en 2007. Donc, lors de sa construction, il respectait déjà une réglementation thermique qui existe en France, qui, à cette époque, était la RT 2005 et qui donnait déjà des orientations pour réduire les consommations énergétiques intrinsèques au bâtiment en termes de bâti et en termes d'installation. Donc, d'un point de vue consommation d'énergie, ce bâtiment était déjà assez performant. Néanmoins, on a pu constater qu'au niveau bâti, il existait une isolation des parois verticales et des parois horizontales, donc les façades, les planchers et la toiture. Mais par rapport aux normes actuelles, ces isolations étaient inférieures aux normes qui sont en vigueur aujourd'hui. Et notamment au niveau des menuiseries. Les menuiseries, aujourd'hui, on en fait des vraiment bien plus performantes. Mais les points plus critiques, ça pouvait, ou en tout cas les points qui sont à améliorer, c'est la ventilation, puisqu'on insuffle de l'air neuf et on l'extrait sans échanger entre les deux l'énergie contenue dans l'air extrait. C'est-à-dire que tout l'air chaud qui est extrait part directement dans la nature. L'eau chaude sanitaire est produite par une chaufferie gaz ainsi que le chauffage. Et la climatisation est produite par des pompes à chaleur. Donc quand on regarde la répartition de l'énergie, on constate que près de 30% de la consommation est liée au chauffage, 23% à l'eau chaude et la climatisation représente 13%. Donc ce sont les postes les plus consommateurs. Quand on regarde ce qui est en marron, c'est les usages secondaires. Il faut savoir que d'un point de vue réglementaire en France, quand on parle de performance énergétique, d'un point de vue réglementaire, on ne prend en compte que 5 usages. Le chauffage, la climatisation, la ventilation, l'éclairage et l'eau chaude sanitaire. Donc n'est pas prise en compte dans tous les objectifs de performance tous les autres usages qui sont spécifiques à l'usage du bâtiment. Le Nearly Zero Energy en France, c'est traduit par le niveau BBC Rénovation. BBC pour bâtiment basse consommation. Donc c'est ce niveau qu'on a essayé d'atteindre dans les propositions de travaux que nous avons effectuées. Alors l'état existant, si on se reporte aux étiquettes énergie, là quand vous regardez sur le tableau de gauche, on est à un niveau presque D, entre E et D, sur les 5 usages, donc c'est ce niveau réglementaire. Par contre, quand on intègre l'ensemble des usages, on se rend compte qu'on est plutôt à un niveau F. Ce qui est normal, puisque ces étiquettes ne prennent pas en compte l'ensemble des usages. Mais plus on va réduire les déperditions, on va améliorer tout ce qui va être installation et améliorer l'étiquette de gauche, plus la part de l'usage spécifique va être lourde. Donc ça sera vraiment à prendre en compte. Donc, comment est-ce qu'on a organisé nos préconisations? C'est dans une idée de ce qu'on appelle démarche négawatt, c'est-à-dire d'abord la sobriété. On va le kilowattheure le moins cher et le moins polluant, c'est le kilowattheure non utilisé. Donc, on va essayer de réduire les besoins pour ne pas avoir à produire de l'énergie. Ensuite, on va améliorer les installations existantes. Et enfin, quand on aura fait tout ce travail, on envisagera les énergies renouvelables. Alors, on a fait plusieurs scénarios, parce que ce sont des investissements qui peuvent être lourds. Là, comme je n'ai que 5 minutes pour vous présenter un rapport de 170 pages, je vous ai présenté directement les mesures qui ont été préconisées pour atteindre le niveau BBC Rénovation. Donc, on a le remplacement des menuiseries, l'isolation des murs sur les circulations qui sont non chauffées, une isolation par l'extérieur, l'installation d'une VMC double flux avec récupérateur de chaleur, les vannes d'équilibrage sur le réseau de chauffage, les vannes d'équilibrage sur les réseaux d'eau chaude et tout le système de régulation, ainsi qu'une installation de panneaux solaires. Ce qu'on peut voir, c'est que pour une consommation d'énergie annuelle de 51 000 € à peu près en moyenne actuellement, on pourrait réduire à 20 000 € par an, donc une réduction de 30 000 €. Si on prend en compte le coût, l'augmentation du coût du prix des énergies, on a un temps de retour actualisé qui peut être estimé entre 15 et 13 ans. Donc ces temps de retour sont relativement importants pour un secteur tel que l'hôtellerie, mais il faut voir ça sur du long terme et il faut aussi garder en tête que ce bâtiment était déjà performant. Donc quand on a un bâtiment déjà performant, l'effort à mettre en place pour une réduction d'énergie est important. Voilà.
Well, we're doing quite bad in terms of timing, but I think we're doing very good in terms of content, and I think these 3 cases have been very inspiring examples. Let me ask again Josephine, Josune, and Augusta to come to the debate area, and we have time for 2-3 questions, so if you can start raising hands. Anyone who wants to ask for something? If not, I will be launching one.
Thank you very much. My name is Stefanos Fotiou from the United Nations Environment Programme. I listen to the case, and I think the cases are always the best part of such a conference because they bring the real life into the project. But in the morning also there was a kind of debate and a kind of question how credible is to use the word near zero energy. So I want to ask the panelists the following thing. What are the benchmarks they are using to prove to themselves that what they are doing is efficient in terms of resource use consumption and in terms also of economic efficiency, if it's the business case? And if these benchmarks are coming from other cases that they do know, if they are coming from some international or regional initiatives, or if they have just done it in the spirit of the project. Thank you.
In our concern or in our experience is that, like, because of the project, the neZEH project, we are going to go to the biomassa heating installations. This was something that we wanted to do a long time ago, but due to economic reason, we at that moment we couldn't do it. Now we are realizing that at the long term is going to be very productive. So it is a challenge, it is expand, but we are going to do it. We are going because we know it is an advantage in the long term.
Si je peux rajouter quelque chose également, il faut garder en tête, comme ma consoeur en a parlé tout à l'heure, que chaque bâtiment est un cas unique dans son environnement. Donc si on fait du benchmark, il faut le faire dans une région où les problématiques sont les mêmes. En Corse ou dans la région du sud de la France, c'est le confort d'été qui est une problématique principale. Donc ça, il faut toujours le garder à l'esprit. Ensuite, toutes nos études et nos calculs sont basés sur des calculs théoriques et on vérifie dans la démarche, une fois que les travaux sont réalisés, si on respecte bien les préconisations que nous avons mis en place. Aujourd'hui, dans notre expérience, ce qui a été mis en place, à condition que l'usage, et c'est ce qui a été dit précédemment, que l'usage par les clients, les usagers, est raisonnable, on retrouve dans la plupart des cas les estimations réalisées.
About our building, what I want to say is that all our results were calculated using the Romanian methodology, and basically we transpose physical phenomena into mathematical models. So for the moment we have this, I don't know, let's say base of our results. But what we want to do, we want to monitorize all our solutions, and also more than Romanian methodology, we use the European norms, which are used in all over Europe. So we are quite sure on our calculations, and also we worked with from the Romanian ministry with one expert. He's already monitoring some houses, but on a small scale in Romania. So we have a second opinion, very useful for us, technical based, of course. And I think we cannot speak about benchmarks or regions. We have to speak about every building in every place with every climatic data and with every specific envelope and installations. Thank you.
One question.
Hello. Thank you. I'm Theocharis Tsoutsos from the Technical University of Creta. So I live in a place full of tourism. So, but although I'm academic, I try to ask the enthusiastic participants, and thank you for to be here. Which are your expectations as concerns your clients? You think that in the future this project will attract more clients? This is good for business. And the other one, completely together, please. How ambitious you are? You mean you consider maybe after some years to try to become positive zero or something like that? If possible, thank you.
Well, we already see the difference in the clients. We see, and I could even say more, that I see that the type of the client that comes is also very aware, and sometimes they take a small initiatives. Like last week, someone came and said, it's a very small anecdote, but I want to say because it is a detail. Without saying anything, they took the initiative for, oh, we are here for 4 days. We can use the same napkins. We are going to put them in a little something with our names, and we can use the same napkin. Oh, you can save so many this and this and this. They did it, and I say, and then I tell her, look, we are taking part in the neZEH project, and this is about reduction of energy cost. So it works. It just starts working. The awareness, it is, passes from one to others, and many other details also that we see in the client, and also people they come and they see, oh, there is something different. This is not a normal hotel. What's going on here? And they give us opportunity to talk about all those things. So not only we give a hotel service, but we also have an opportunity, and we are very proud of it, and we like sharing the experience and the awareness and the environmental development or taking care of the earth.
And you continue updating?
And we, yes, definitely. We are just building right now, more cabins, wooden cabins, since we have the big hall, then we have more demands, bigger groups, and also we do have a agriculture project to do more natural permaculture way and working in that sense. And also we're working with the water and
last words.
Just the last words. Yeah, I mean, we've had a lot of contact with our pilots in Sweden, and we know that they're committed to continuing this work. I mean, they continue to get to as close as they can to the nearly zero energy status. Clearly, this is going to take time. I mean, it's not something that's going to happen before the end of the project. These renovation plans are something that is going to be instrumental, if you like, over the next 4 or 5, 6, maybe 8 years. They're quite ambitious. They're quite demanding financially. But they have a commitment to doing that. And I think not only our Swedish colleagues, but even everyone else, all our other colleagues around Europe have pilot hotels have expressed the same thing. But from a project perspective, this is going to be incredibly central, because our project finishes at the end of March, April next year. So how do we maintain this motivation? We've got our pilot hotels on board. They're ready to go. They want to continue. They need support. And then all of a sudden, we're not there. And we've got to make sure within the next sort of 9 months that we provide an infrastructure which enables them to move forward and to continue on that path, which we think is so central. So we will be there to support you, even if it's more perhaps in spirit than in travel. I don't know, but that's something that we've got to address.
Okay, I'm sorry, but I think we run out of time. I guess they will be reachable for any questions, just face to face. Thank you to all the panelists. Thank you again for the passion you put into these projects, and big hug for them.
With building automation and control systems in buildings, which means from monitoring to the control of all the technical devices in buildings. And this is something that gives you a chance to enable a lot of a lot of energy efficiency in buildings, and some of our manufacturers and members in UBEC, they were actually dealing with EPC, energy performance contracting, and when we heard this morning from our colleague from Brussels, Mosley, Mr. Mosley, he was talking on one slide, emphasizing on the fact that energy performance contracting is something that would be a good opportunity to give a big advantage for the energy efficiency community and for the energy efficiency business to have a clever and a smart financing model. So I've brought some slides. I was asked to do it really quick, and we have 30 minutes for this session. So I go to this and will skip some of the slides, but that's what we have heard before. So the cheapest energy is the wasted energy. If we save some of the energy, we waste anyhow. So this is the cheapest energy, and so we should use it, of course. And the question is now again, what is energy performance contracting? What are our companies doing, and how can the hotel industry benefit from that? And energy performance contracting basically is a partnership between a customer, which could be an hotel, and I have some examples here, but I will skip them, and you can look them up on the internet. And an energy service company, and that energy service company allows the customer to improve a building without any upfront cost, and the energy service company guarantees savings, and then we share the savings. Part of the saving goes for the energy service companies, and the rest of the saving is yours. So you have no risk, no upfront cost, no investment cost, but you have all the savings, and you can maybe not go to a plus energy building if you have an existing building, but you can definitely go for 50% energy savings by using this tool without any investment. So it's quite a good thing, and I will skip that because this explains this in some more detail what I just mentioned. So it's basically completely self-funding. And you have all the benefits, not only when it comes to energy efficiency. Most of our business in building automation and controls is to guarantee comfort in the hotel rooms. And when you ask people, and I saw a survey recently, I don't know if it's a really good survey, but they were asking what are people asking for, and when they choose their hotels. And I'm staying 180 nights per year in hotels, so I can tell you I look where is it located. So it's very good if it's nearby a conference. But I also look, and most of the people actually look, is there free Wi-Fi? This is number one. But I think energy efficiency was really not the top priority of people choosing hotels. It's where is it located? Then of course has it a good rating on the internet platforms, or at least a reasonable rating. It's of course something has to do with the pricing of the room, and it has to do is there Wi-Fi. But energy efficiency certainly is something that a hotel owner would do if he gets some profit margin out of it. So it needs to be investments that pay off. And you can do that with EPC because you have these energy costs and you waste a lot of energy in hotels. This night I was in a hotel. I can show immediately where they waste some of the energy and where you could have a return and a payback period of 3 or 4 years. And the other issue with hotels is when our member companies go to hotels and they talk about business cases and they come back and saying, well, the payoff period might be 4 years. Oh, that's too long. We do anything that pays off in 2 years, but not in 4 years. So this is something where we have to convince people to have a more long-term vision and also a strategic vision also on energy efficiency. And not only energy efficiency, also resource efficiency in total. So this is basically how it works. You can look it up, and the slides will be online next week. So on the website of the neZEH project, so you can look that up how it works. I can tell you it works, and there were a number of projects that were done with energy performance contracting. So it's a quite good thing. the companies, they do a preliminary audit, do the and detailed analysis what savings can be achieved, not only by building automation, but by a number of things that are changed in the buildings, and there's an implementation phase, and of course there's a guarantee phase where the savings are guaranteed, and this is the reason why we see a large number of big companies in this field, because they have a large number of projects, so they can diversify the risks of the different projects, because if they come up and tell you you can save 39% of the energy, and 10% is yours, the rest is mine, and they don't achieve the 39% of energy, somebody has to pay this guarantee, and this is a reason why there are most of all there are some big companies in this field of energy performance contracting. It's a total facility approach, and if it's a hotel or if it's an office building, but you look at all the things, and we saw this, and it's also something that we heard today. And when you go to Brussels, I have some colleagues, they always tell you about deep renovation is the key issue for the next for the future of Europe. I think a deep renovation will not happen, and I'm very happy that I saw some examples for step-by-step renovation, because this is something you can really achieve. And if you do the most economic investments first, then you have the biggest savings first, and out of these savings you can finance the other investments that you do in future. So this is something I like very much. So energy, I really love this picture of the elephant, because energy efficiency is the unseen elephant in the room. There's so much wasted energy, and you can reduce the energy, be it in hotels or be it in other types of buildings. You can reduce the energy tremendously. First you have to monitor it, then you have to have behavioral changes. If you tell your staff to turn off the light when they leave the room, if you tell your staff that they turn off the heating when they leave the room, you can achieve the first 20%, but this does not work for a very long time, because people get used to they're lazy, they don't think about it, and as long as people in offices or people in hotels, they do not pay the energy bill, there's no real incentive for saving. So we have to do something, and you can do many things by automation. So we saw very nice examples where automation technology was used, by presence detection, by the card that you have to put in a slit, and all those funny things that really automate the energy use in buildings without reducing the comfort in buildings. And that's the key issue, that we do not want to reduce the comfort and the well-being of people in the buildings. I, of course, come with the same example of the boutique hotel Stadthalle. I think this is the most famous one. It was a solution where Siemens was involved, which is one of our members, and they brought me two other examples, and I'm very happy to have other examples too. One is a hotel in Hong Kong that was retrofitted with energy efficient technology. Also using energy performance contracting, and also a Linden hotel. This is the one that's close to the Nürburgring. That's a famous Formula One activity, and this hotel is there. But it looks quite the same like Linden hotel that is in Berlin, and there are also a number of measures been taken to reduce the energy cost. I think it's not a nearly zero energy hotel, but there's quite a good amount of energy reduction here. Now we're already late. I'm sorry, and I would like to introduce the other panelists that we have, where we want to talk about how can we achieve what has been achieved in lighthouse projects all over the place, and how can we motivate also people to invest in energy efficient technologies, down to make the buildings nearly zero energy buildings. So on the panel are Reka Cepelli, and please have the seat over there, and we have Simon Kamal, and we have Julien Sullier, and we will first of all have some very short presentations by the three And I think Reka can start with the presentation, right? Reka, want to start? We have 3 very short 2-minute presentations, and afterwards we have a very short discussions, and then I let you go to lunch.
Okay, many thanks. I promise to be very short as possible, as clear as possible. So I will speak in English, but sometimes I will maybe switch in French because it's my working language. So my name is Reka Cepeli. I'm head of sustainable department at the Regional Committee for Tourism for Paris Region Tourist Board, world's top tourist destination. So do not hesitate to ask me questions, and in French, of course, I can answer also in French, and even better in French than in English, of course. So I will focus on 2 points, 2 key points very quickly. We set up a climate footprint study in our destination, so Paris region. I will tell just some words about it because it's a huge study you can imagine for such a destination. And in the second part, very quickly also, I will talk about a concrete tool we use in our everyday work with the accommodation sector, with hotelier. And of course, in the general framework of the climate conference, which will take place at the end of the year in Paris, inside our destination. So we're very, very proud of it, and we have to be able to show good cases, study cases, and realizations, of course. So first of all, what we are talking about, Paris, Île-de-France, so Paris region. Some key points: 12 million inhabitants, first economic region in Europe, the largest hotel supply in Europe, also the largest exhibition area, and the second airport hub in Europe after Heathrow, I think. So some other data, very quickly, 47 million of international tourists per year, a huge amount of tourists. More than 184 million overnight stays, and more than 22 billion euros spent by French and international tourists in our destination every year, so last year. So sustainable tourism is an evidence for us in such a destination, but it's very difficult to do that, mainly in the accommodation sector. So we try to educate, in a way, our professionals, our stakeholders, to be more sustainable in general, and mainly on the climate change topic in particular, and I will try to show you how we do that. So we set up a carbon footprint study for our destination, a prospective one. It's called Bilan Carbone. It's a French method developed by our French agency for environmental and energy management, ADEME. So what are we talking about? It's a huge amount of ton equivalent CO2 of GHG emissions in our destination, about 17.5 million of tons equivalent CO2. It's like 3.6 million trips around the Earth by car. It's a model and image we show to our stakeholders in order to show them the importance of this. So we can say in a very, very simple sentence that the tourism sector in the Paris region has a very high energy intensity, of course. We are responsible, in a way, for almost 30% of GHG emissions of the whole region, first economic region in Europe. So it's very important. So the study evaluates also the economic vulnerability of the sector. So on the one hand, our responsibility, and on the other one, the vulnerability from an economic point of view, of course. So we set up, there is a need for a climate change mitigation policy, of course, with our stakeholders in every sectors in the tourism. So I won't talk about the scopes because we don't have time, I understood. We set up 3 scenarios by 2050, a business as usual, an intermediate, and a factor 4 in French. just a few minutes to talk, to tell you, to show you the tool we use with our stakeholders in the accommodation sector mainly and in the restoration sector also. So our key message towards our stakeholders is to show them that sustainability can also enable significant benefits. That's the key message. And we use a tool which is called Malice, which was developed by EVA Tourism. It's an innovative web tool application dedicated to the tourism industry. It helps to reduce costs and environmental impacts. It helps to communicate the environmental performance to the customers by the environmental tag. I will talk about it a little bit later. And it provides a tool for managing a network, a territory or a chain. And it facilitates also the obtaining of European eco-label. So what are we talking about? The environmental tag, it's the French Ministry of Ecology's initiative, which aims to inform consumers about the environmental impacts of several economic sectors. We use it on the accommodation sector, hospitality industry. So it's not only about energy consumptions, but also about water consumptions, waste generated, GHG emissions, and the percentage of eco-friendly and organic products also. So it's a large environmental management tool. And a last word, it's really my last slide, about the Paris Climate Conference by the end of the year. So we try to set up a kind of side event with some other actors here in the present today also. We try to identify together and put to the test measurements and tools in order to facilitate the tourism industry's adaptation to the impacts of the climate change, with the main objective, which is to accelerate the transition to a low-carbon approach. So here we can hear today about other initiatives, of course, neZEH with HES. We identified some others also. So our aim by the end of the year is to gather all these actors, all these stakeholders to talk about it and to try to harmonize in a way all these managing tools. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Erika. I think we should allow one question at least, because now the idea is fresh, and if there's a burning question, yes, please, I come to you.
Voilà, c'est à propos du chiffre que vous avez donné au niveau des émissions carbone. Vous avez parlé que c'était pour le tourisme à Paris, et je voulais savoir si c'était juste le tourisme en tant que, enfin voilà, j'y vais pour voir, visiter Paris, ou aussi tous les business trips, etc.
Alors donc ça marche. Oui. Donc on a travaillé avec des indicateurs et des périmètres très larges. Donc on a non seulement comptabilisé les allées et les retours des touristes qui viennent à Paris-Île-de-France, donc les arrivées et les retours, mais aussi des départs des franciliens, c'est-à-dire les habitants d'Île-de-France qui partent en voyage. Également, on a bien évidemment travaillé sur le segment loisirs et sur le segment affaires. Donc on a fait vraiment avec des périmètres larges qui correspondent également au plan régional pour le climat, qui est une obligation légale. Donc on voulait s'inscrire dans la même dynamique que la région Île-de-France.
So thanks. Next presentation is from Simon Kamal, and his passive house standard is something that has been existing for quite some time, long before we talked about nearly zero energy housing. I think nearly zero energy housing discussion came up with the last EPBD, Energy Performance of Buildings Directive in Brussels. You know, sometimes the Brussels authorities, they talk to each other, sometimes not. So we have EPDPD, we have eco-design directive on different products and partial systems of buildings, and we have eco-label, and it does not fit perfectly together, but sometimes they talk to each other. But what has been there before there was eco-design and before there was energy performance of buildings directive was a passive house standard, and let's hear the presentation of Simon on that topic.
Thank you, Peter. Je me présente rapidement, donc Simon, ingénieur projet à la Maison Passive. Nous sommes l'association qui fédère les acteurs du bâtiment passif en France. Donc nous labellisons Standard Bâtiment Passif, Passive House, qui est pour nous la base, une base possible, une bonne base pour les standards NZEH à venir en 2018-2020. Et nous représentons pour la France ce projet Eurofit dont je vais vous parler. Donc je continue en anglais. So the Eurofit project is a project funded by the EEE, Intelligent Energy Europe, like neZEH, so we're quite close on the topic. And our main aspect is how can we achieve ambitious targets, deep retrofit targets, doing it step by step towards NZEB, so high efficiency and then renewables. So you already had a good insight with the presentation of Francesco earlier on a hotel. So the idea of the Eurofit project is to show that it's possible to go for an NZEB standard in the retrofit of residential and non-residential projects. So have pilot projects, but also criteria for this step-by-step method, which is quite new, using validated softwares. But I want to add also that we are working currently on suitable products for retrofit, so making it easier to retrofit the envelope, the systems, and also developing adapted, adequate financing instruments. The key point of the methodology for step-by-step approach is to develop this overall refurbishment plan, so have a comprehensive idea how we can reach this efficiency of passive house standard, so heating load of 10 watt per square meter. So gather details, schematic drawings, an energy audit of the existing building, and a comprehensive calculation. If you want to know more and have an example on a hotel, please visit our website and see the hotel in Italy that's being currently refurbished. What we've worked on with our partners in France is we wanted them to develop reproducible solutions. So an example with this owner of a large social housing stock, we developed comprehensive details which can be applied to first 24 pilot buildings and then thousands of them. That's a way to, go faster. We have to go faster towards the passive house principles. So show them in a step-by-step way what's the first step you can take, how much it's going to cost in terms of investment, but also in terms of energy, comprising the energy savings. So you have here the saved energy price, which has to be compared with the energy price from the market for gas, electricity, or whatever. On the website of Eurofit, you're going to find hundreds of details gathered from our pilot project. So it should be a good, a good basis to start on if you want to retrofit your hotel or other projects. Key aspect is to talk with the owner about price and global costs. So with the same owner, we analyzed first his current strategy with minimal efficiency. That's the columns that you have on the left. So a lot of operational cost, a small amount of investment just to maintain the building as it is. And the evolution of the global cost that you have on the right is an alternative scenario based on the passive house standard. So you show that you can achieve NZEB with a lower global cost. Obviously, there's a price to pay. You reduce the operational energy and cost by near 70–80%, but you have a higher investment. Product development. So we had a component award this year about the interaction between window retrofit and wall insulation. So we have got new solutions. We've got industrial manufacturers that are working on easiest way of doing this step-by-step approach without having too many problems and reinventing complete difficult topics. And next year we will focus on cost-efficient ventilation systems. Just to finish, the main key point we're arriving now this year is to convince banks to accompany us. So what they want from us is a holistic approach, so that's the overall refurbishment plan, reliable calculation tools, that's why we use our software PHPP, which has been validated by monitoring campaigns, certification systems. I know there are a lot of labels, but still, you know, quality insurance has a price. You've got to be sure that the method is comprehensive. We're developing an online certification platform. We try to make it in the easiest way as possible, but we need to check once the first step has been completed that, you know, in the end, maybe in 5 or 10 years time, we will reach the NZEB level. You can show a lot of graphs about global costs, about net present value, but the first thing that the banks are going to look at is the credit worthiness of the owner, of the investor. So what we have to look at is how we can quantify that investing in NZEB, and particularly in the hotels, can lower the risk of this investment in terms of maintenance, for instance. Okay, thank you for your attention. You can subscribe for free at the website, eurofit.eu, and you can download a lot of material. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, one question to Simon. Is there a question? Yeah.
Simon, I'm interested to learn something about the certification platform that you mentioned. Maybe to tell us one or two things, how it works and what is the benefit of it.
So the idea is that we, as a certifier now, we analyze a lot of AutoCAD drawings, also sometimes paper, which take a lot of time, a lot of exchange. So we centralize right from the start the exchange between the certifier and the designer. So it's first thought as an helpful tool to gather the information with checklists to be sure that you've got the good information that you need in terms of this refurbishment plan that I mentioned, the drawings in it can be AutoCAD format or even BIM for the ones who are already, who have the capacity to use that. We can centralize all the analysis from the certifier. It's very important for this long-term approach of step-by-step because it has to be there for many years, maybe 2, 3, or even 10 years, stability of the platform. It should be accessed, I guess, the most easiest way, maybe I hope for free. And so gather, see easily the progression of the certification. One key aspect is that we give a pre-certification after the first step has been completed. We're thinking about now what's the target, the minimum target that we have to achieve, maybe minus 10 or minus 20% of energy consumption. You have to get a certain target to get this pre-certificate, and then at the end you'll get the full certificate when you have commissioned the building, when the air tightness and the comfort levels are ensured.
Thank you. We have one last presentation in this short session, which is 2 minutes. by Julien, please.
Merci. Je vais faire ma présentation en français. Je serai plus à l'aise comme ça. Bonjour,
en français,
je me présente.
2 minutes.
Bonjour, je me présente. Julien Tuillier, association Cannes Jeunesse. On a un centre d'hébergement qui est sur les îles de l'Érins à Cannes. Et il a la particularité de se trouver dans des bâtiments qui datent du XVIe siècle. Donc je vais vous présenter un petit peu tout ça. Nous sommes dans un contexte administratif très contraignant avec une zone Natura 2000, un contrat de baie, etc. Voilà. On a une forêt qui est gérée par l'ONF, donc on se devait, nous, d'être dans cette démarche de réduction de nos consommations d'énergie. Quelques chiffres, on accueille 10 000 personnes par an, on fait 55 000 nuitées, et on sert 25 000 nuitées et 55 000 repas. Donc on a une empreinte et une consommation d'énergie assez importante. On a aussi un rôle éducatif par rapport au public que nous accueillons. Donc nous sommes entrés dans cette démarche de réduction d'énergie par le biais de l'écolabel. On a des freins très identifiés sur nos réductions d'énergie pour pouvoir réduire notre énergie, qui est le bâti. On a estimé à peu près à une rénovation complète du bâti autour de entre 15 et 20 millions d'euros on est d'une part monument de France et d'autre part sur une île. Donc ça a des coûts bien engendrés supérieurs. Juste rapidement, l'écolabel, pour ceux qui, effectivement, ce label manque de notoriété, c'est un label avec presque 100 points et qui est commun à l'ensemble des pays de l'Union européenne. Voilà. Donc on est parti premièrement sur des initiatives directes. Ces initiatives directes, c'est ce qui nous permet, nous, directement de réduire notre empreinte, nos émissions d'énergie directement sans qu'on ait appel à des partenaires. Je vous montre quelques exemples. On sollicite le public au travers d'un outil de communication qu'on retrouve un petit peu partout dans les bâtiments. On a commencé à installer des systèmes biflux, voilà, qui récupèrent de la chaleur. Et un autre système en cuisine, c'est des déshydrateurs de déchets qui permettent de réduire considérablement les déchets en sortie de poubelle et qui permettent d'être revalorisés dans différents circuits. Ensuite, on a, nous, identifié effectivement des initiatives indirectes. Voilà, ces initiatives indirectes concernent essentiellement tout ce qui va être rénovation de portes-fenêtres. Pour un ordre d'idée, on a à peu près 220 fenêtres, on a 95 portes, donc c'est un coût énorme. Premier point. Le deuxième point, ça va être la toiture. On a à peu près 5000 m² de toiture à changer, donc à doubler. Voilà, donc ça a des coûts économiques assez conséquents. Voilà. Ben, l'avenir, voilà, c'est quelques chiffres. Donc c'est effectivement ce nombre important de bâtis à rénover. Ça va être aussi de trouver des solutions techniques viables, tant pour nous gestionnaires, la commune propriétaire et la DRAC qui impose un certain normes sur le bâti. On va devoir trouver des financements publics et privés. Voilà. Et encore une fois, on en a parlé longuement dans les différentes interventions, la sensibilisation du public, des salariés et des partenaires. Voilà. Merci.
Merci bien. Est-ce qu'il y a une question? Merci.
Oui, vous parliez de la revalorisation des déchets déshydratés en cuisine. Est-ce que vous pourriez nous en dire deux mots, puisqu'en plus, le fait d'être sur une île, il y a intérêt, je pense, à l'utiliser directement sur place. J'aimerais savoir comment vous le faites. Merci.
Donc, ce déshydrateur, c'est un projet qui a commencé en mars 2015. Donc, on a très peu de recul, nous, par rapport à ça. Mais en tous les cas, les avantages sont clairement identifiés. C'est la réduction des volumes de tout ce qui est alimentaire, premier point. Le deuxième point, c'est que tous les déchets sont transportés par barge entre Cannes, enfin entre le continent et les îles. Donc, réduction du nombre de transbordements de déchets qu'il va y avoir entre Cannes et les îles. Troisième point, c'est aussi un outil, nous, de communication et d'éducation des publics que nous pouvons recevoir. Et le quatrième point, c'est des salariés qui sont sensibilisés directement dans leur travail quotidien sur comment réduire les déchets.
One last question is allowed.
Est-ce que la certification écolabel, est-ce que c'est une obligation de la Commission de l'Europe, ou alors vous vous sentez, pourquoi vous vous sentez obligé de vous faire certifier écolabel? Et ça ajoute quelque chose?
Alors, l'écolabel n'est pas obligatoire, premièrement. Voilà. Nous sommes rentrés dans l'écolabel par le biais d'un réseau qui s'appelle le réseau étiquetable, qui fédère à peu près une quarantaine de structures à travers la France. Ce réseau a promu ce label. Pourquoi ce label plutôt qu'un autre? Parce que en termes de politique, le réseau a décidé de porter ce label auprès de nos structures. Pourquoi nous nous sommes engagés dans ce label? Parce que nous sommes convaincus que c'est l'action globale de l'ensemble des acteurs et notamment des hôteliers qui permettra de diminuer un certain nombre de problématiques qui sont évoquées aujourd'hui Et ça a été aussi une volonté politique de l'association de s'engager dans ce label. Aujourd'hui, ça nous coûte, ça nous rapporte peu de nouveaux publics, peu de nouveaux clients. Ça nous oblige à acheter des produits qui sont écolabellisés, donc un surcoût d'entre 5 et 15% selon les produits. Donc aujourd'hui, l'avantage, c'est plutôt idéologique que économique. Voilà.
Thanks very much. We have a number of questions, and believe me, we can talk for hours. But this is the time for the lunch break, so I wish you a nice break and see you again. When? Oh, the organizer left the room. I think it's on the plan. It was until 2, but and it was officially an hour. Philippine. When should everybody be back? No, Master of Ceremony.
Sorry, at 2:30. Please try to be back at 2:30.